Never again will the American taxpayer be held hostage by a bank that is too big to fail.
Well, what about all of that bailout dough? My next guest says that the government is holding more than $300 billion in TARP cash hostage. The Senate just shooting down Senator John Thune's amendment to kill TARP and use the money to reduce the deficit. The Republican from South Dakota, himself a rising star in the party, joining me right now. Senator, good to have you.
Good afternoon. Always good to be with you, Neil.
So what happens now? Obviously, we know this TARP money is out there. And my impression, Senator, could be wrong, is that it's just sort of being held in reserve as a big old credit line for whatever purposes Congress deems fit. Am I wrong?
I think that's a correct assessment. And what we try to do today, I offered an amendment that would end it and make sure that that $320 billion that you just referenced can't be spent for all kinds of other things, which we think they have designs on, and that any money that comes back in that's already been spent and gets paid back actually has to go to reduce the debt as opposed to being recycled and respent. I think this authority could become a sort of a recycled political slush fund that could be used for lots of other purposes, and we tried to end it today. I think this was a first test, Neil, of whether or not Congress was listening to the voters in Massachusetts on Tuesday night, and we got 53 votes. We got a majority in the Senate, but we didn't get the 60 that was necessary.
Well, you know,
supermajority
by the way, Senator, that's
to
remarkable in and of itself. So obviously the winds are changing. As you know, Nancy Pelosi today conceding that, you know, they're going to have to go slow on health care. That's sort of like Mount Olympus moving. So you are making progress here, but what has to happen now?
Well, I think that we have to, first of all, I hope at least what will happen is that the health care bill that's currently here will be scrapped and that we can start over and do this right, do it step by step, and focus on measures that actually reduce health care costs for people as opposed to increasing their costs, which is what the Democrat
before
bill does.
The midterm elections, Senator?
So start there. Well, I think we should. I mean, I think that health care reform is something that people care about. What they didn't like is they didn't like the massive increase in spending and borrowing and the Medicare cuts and the tax increases in this bill, particularly given the fact that for most Americans it would have raised their health care costs rather than lowered them. So I think, but there are things that we can do that actually bend the cost curve down. But I'll be interested to see how the administration and the congressional leadership, the Democrat leadership, reacts to this now, and to us having 41 votes in the Senate, because we do have the votes in the Senate now to be able to kill this really bad bill. And the question is, where will they go from here?
Are you concerned, Senator, that your party might get too cocky now? It was a year ago, obviously, you guys wanted to slit your wrists. I mean, not you, but I mean, there was that prevailing view that Republicans were finished. Right. And really, a year or two before that, you kind of ruled the world. So these things, as you know, go in waves. How would you advise your colleagues?
Well, I've been around here long enough now to see these things kind of cycle through, and there are the peaks and the valleys. I think what we have to do is be true to our principles and our beliefs, and when we do that, I think the majority of Americans are with us. I think we also have to make sure that we stay connected to the American people and that we're listening to them. They've been speaking very loudly in New Jersey and in Virginia and now in Massachusetts, and I think the question is, are we listening? And I believe that, at least among Republicans, we're getting the message. We understand they care about too much borrowing, too much taxing, too much spending, and we're going to do everything we can to try and rein it in and stop that. It'll be interesting to see if we have any cooperation from Democrats here in Congress.
Senator, always fun having you on. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Neil. You bet.